that is, I know we have most everybody here, but if somebody is missing, we can replay that. Thank you, Mr. C.
All right, take care.
So our syllabus, you don't have to get all too worked up over this. Our first 6 months will be 14 chapters. This is our main emphasis of the year, is for the A+. Once we switch past the certification exam and we start down Cisco, we have a few more chapters. We will not get through all of these. Okay, the way this is set up, we're going to do the A+. We will start down the Cisco road, and whatever we do not finish will be picked up in that second year as they do their second semester of Cisco. Things that will be explained in a whole lot simpler once we get closer to the end of the school year. Our first year at CTC, what can you exactly expect? Well, again, our first 6 months, we're going to cover the A+ curriculum. We're going to get you ready to set for that certification exam, which we are hoping will be somewhere around early March. Once we hit that point in the year, then we're going to switch into the Cisco, and we're going to have roughly about 3 months to try and get through as many of those 17 chapters that we can. Now, this past year, of course, COVID hit us a little bit, slowed us up some, but we did get through 9 of those 17 chapters. But that's kind of how our year will progress. Second and third year. So once you're round about February, we start talking about what are you going to do next year? What do you want to come back for? And we have at least 3 different pathways currently. One is you can come back and you can finish Cisco in its entirety, and that takes a year in itself. One is you can do Linux, or you can do security. If you do either of those, the state, though, requires that you do the first 2 semesters of Cisco. So your second year would be half Cisco, and then the other half the year, the Linux or the security. And then, of course, in some cases, if you're a 10th grader this year, you know, you could come back. Let's say that you did the first year with me, you did Cisco and Linux. You could come back the third year and get the security, or vice versa. If you did the security, come back and get Linux. And then each one of those has their own certifications. We're only going to talk about the A+ certification tonight, but certainly next year you would hear a lot more about those other certifications. So what can you get? We are hoping that you're going to get A+ certified. That is our main purpose for this program. What is A+? It is a vendor neutral software or certification. They say that, however, the questions are highly pushed toward Microsoft, so there's a lot of Microsoft information. But it is what industry people use as a starting point, or a way of an employer can say, oh, I know they have this base knowledge. And so that's what the A+ is used for. They say that in order to pass it, and when I say they, I'm talking about the organization CompTIA, which does the certification. They say in order to pass it, you need to have the knowledge or the experience of between 9 to 12 months of on-the-job training. Now, if you do the math, 12 months at 40 hours a week is 1,920 hours. If you do the math for our normal classroom time, we're only going to have about 240 hours in order to cover that information and get it into your head. So you need to do, and I'm going to talk about this again a couple of times later, but the emphasis really is on studying. We have many students that will take and pass the certification. We have many that will take it and fall short of passing it. And usually when I ask, well, how much studying did you do? The answer usually comes back, not very much. However, the ones that pass, they'll usually say, well, I've been spending the last 4 weeks preparing for this. And it shows because those scores are much higher. What does the certification cost? Because it is not free. First of all, there are 2 exams, and there's a cost for each exam. And mom and dad, before I click this button, don't fret with the first thing you see. Each test is $226. And I'm sure the first thing you're going through your head is, holy moly, how am I going to do this? If we total those together, that's $452, assuming one very important thing, and that is each test is passed the very first time it is taken. And many students will do that. But we do have some students that may need to take it 2 or even 3 times in order to master that or pass that certification. So I don't want you to get too involved in the money just yet. Give me a couple more clicks. So to help the student do better, we have our own testing center here in the school. It's actually a little room here that I control, but we are a private testing center. Only our students can test with us, so nobody on the outside. The big thing for students is they are much more at ease because it's someplace they're used to coming. They're just going from the classroom into an oversized closet, if you will. It's not like they're going to some strange place to take this test they've never been before. So that helps with how they do as well. We are also part of the CompTIA educational program, which means instead of that $226 a test, we can get vouchers and knock that down to about $111. I say about because every year it varies a couple of dollars. But just like on TV, I'm going to say, but wait, have I got a deal for you? Every year, our CTE department puts in for grants. In the last few years, we have been very fortunate that they've been able to secure us some pretty decent ones. And so that means that that cost drops even more than that. What is it going to be this year? I do not know. I can tell you 2 years ago, the out-of-pocket cost for mom and dad total for the 2 tests was $100 because of the grants. This past year, the out-of-pocket cost for mom and dad because of the grants was only $50. What is it going to be this year? If we get no grant, you're looking at $222. If we get a grant, it'll be something less than that. But we won't have any idea what that cost will be until about the middle of December. They start putting in for those grants. We start finding out when we're going to get it around October, and then how much, and then they start divvying it out. The grant is not just for this program, but the grant is for the entire building. And so they kind of have to spread the wealth a little bit. And so depending upon how many students are in the various programs, that's kind of how it waters down to how much each student is provided. One of the things I do want to make clear, though, is because this is a program to prepare you for the world of work, we do expect every student to attempt certification. I would be lying if I told you that every student will pass. I do not have a 100% pass rate. I have roughly about 40%. These are very difficult exams, and a student must really put in the time and effort in order to be prepared and to do well on those exams. And we'll talk about these exams throughout the school year. We do lots of prep for it. I usually kind of refer to my Christmas present because around the end of December, I send home study materials with the students. It generally is somewhere around 600 test questions to review. And so that's why I say, you're going to spend weeks going over question to prepare for these exams. They are passable. They're just not easy. Now, that being said, I've had some students go through and their scores all but blow it out of the water, and others that barely squeak by and they say, man, that was difficult. And some that say, that wasn't too bad, but they didn't study and they didn't get too far. The one thing, though, I want you to understand is no matter what your score is, whether you pass the cut score by 1 point or by 150 points, nobody knows that but you. Your certificate looks the same whether you squeaked by or whether you did extremely well. So what else can you get out of the program besides the certification? Well, we certainly know that many of you are going to college. And so we have an articulation agreement with FCC, which is right across the parking lot. Throughout your time with us, especially our first year, if you receive a B or better for the year, we have articulated credits with FCC. That means you can take your transcript over when you apply for FCC, and they will give you credit for the classes you've taken with me. Now, articulated credits means that they are only good at FCC. So as long as you're going to FCC to get your AA degree, you're good to go. What happens if you want to go to another college or you want to go to another college after FCC? Well, we've got that covered as well. If you do everything that we have to offer there, you can see that we have a total of 21 credits, though, that you can articulate across that FCC. If you qualify, we also have dual enrollment options. Our dual enrollment does not start until toward the end of October, but toward the end of September, we start talking about what it's going to take, who qualifies, who doesn't, who might want to take an exam to qualify. But the nice thing about dual enrollment, those credits are transcripted, which means when you leave FCC, they follow you. Articulated credits stay at FCC. Transcripted go with you. The same 21 credits, they just happen to be transcripted. Now, in order to be an FCC student, you have to meet a certain criteria. One of those is an Accuplacer exam, and we talk about that in September. We have our English instructor here in the building helps some of the students prepare for that. If you are a 11th grader or a 12th grader and you've taken your 10th or 11th grade English exams and you score a 4 or 5, you're going to be able to qualify by that. If you've taken your SAT or your ACT and scored that or higher, you also qualify. But once you meet one of these criteria, then you will actually apply to FCC. We will put you in the dual enrollment course. And yes, you do have to pay something, but it's significantly cheaper than when you are out of school and across the parking lot. I think right now it's about 1/3 the cost of a full-fledged FCC student. If you do the Accuplacer because you're a 10th grader or you haven't taken the MCAP exams, keep in mind, and we'll talk about this many times between now and then, but FCC only allows each student 2 attempts during their high school years. So you don't want to take it and you get, maybe you don't get close and you say, well, I'm going to take it again next week. You know, you really have to think about that with your parents. Do you want to do it now? Do you want to wait a while? You know, what are some of your options? The Accuplacer exam is done over at FCC. Now, in the past, we, of course, being face-to-face, would walk over there. Right now, I'm not sure if they're going to have an online version or what exactly that will look like. The nice thing about dual enrollment, we just want you to be aware of it, because our dual enrollment class does not start until the 19th of October. So we got plenty of time to get there. One last thing about dual enrollment there, the last piece, FERPA, mom and dad, once they are a FCC student, you can't send me an email and say, what's their grade or how are they doing? That is a legal piece. Once they have been accepted by FCC, they are considered an adult. And so the law says I can't talk to, it'd be like me going to your doctor to want to know how your last medical appointment was. You know, it's none of my business. And unfortunately, mom and dad, even though you're paying the bill, that's kind of how that's looked at as well. Expectations. I've changed this slide a little bit for this year because, of course, we all know that we're starting online. The biggest thing is to be on time the day for your class. We're going to see a schedule here in a moment, a little bit simplified as to what days you're going to need to show up online. But the start time is always 8:30. Please be patient. I know I'm going to stumble a little bit with some of the things I need to do. I'm sure there's going to be some problems on your end as well, but we will work through it. Our first couple weeks together might be a little slow getting started, but we will get there. Bullet number 3, you're already on a great start, and that's muting yourself while I'm presenting. That helps me so much, and I appreciate it. Complete whatever work is assigned. You know, we're going to have some that we're going to do while we're together online, some that you're going to do until the next time we are together online. And then, of course, we want you to attempt those exams. And my favoriteest word ever, study, study, study. I cannot say it enough. And I will certainly say it again when we get closer to December and I send home that study material. It makes all the difference in the world. Now, what does a virtual class kind of look like? And this may or may not be the easiest way to lay it out, but I thought this might work. If you are one of my AM students, and by now you should have your schedule from your home school, and I would hope that you at least know whether you're AM or PM. If you are an AM student, we will be getting together on Mondays and Thursdays. We have a roughly almost 3-hour block together. We will do a variety of information. It will not be 3 hours of me talking, so you can kind of step back and enjoy that. We'll go back and forth from things that I do with you to work that you're going to do on your own, and then we'll bounce back and forth during that time. The afternoons, you have some time available for you for support, not only for my program, but for your homeschool classes as well as what is supposed to be student work time, or they told us to kind of think of it like homework time. And so that's going to vary from week to week or day to day as to how much and how long that may or may not take. The day that's kind of weird is Wednesdays. Wednesdays has an AM and a PM blue time there in the middle of the day. And those are, they didn't have a real clear way to describe it. But if I have maybe small groups that are having difficulty with a certain topic, we might jump online together and do some smaller face-to-face during those times. So AM class, Monday and Thursday. PM class, Tuesdays and Fridays. Same thing, 8:30 to 11:30 or 11:20. Now these are Google Meets, and maybe one of the questions you have is, where am I going to get the Google Meet link? Well, when you log into Schoology, which is what I would ask you to do each day, if you go all the way to the left, we have our navigation bar. The very last thing at the bottom is your Google Meet link. And there is a different link for the AM and the PM classes. I'll also, on this first week, be sending you emails to your FCC email so you can pick it up there. There'll be some announcements in Schoology. If you don't see it in the navigation bar, you certainly should see it in the announcements. So I also wanted to kind of especially for mom and dad, but even just as much for you students. If we're online, you know, what does that look like from what it was when we weren't online? And there's not really going to be a whole lot of difference. We're still going to have warm-up activities. They might be a little different. We're still going to have readings, labs. Notice the only real difference there, though, is the lab assignments. In our traditional or normal time at school, we would be doing virtual labs and hands-on labs. We don't have the ability with full online to do some of those hands-on pieces. But as far as the online environment, the online text, that is 100% exactly the same as if you were here in class. And I'm going to talk about that too here in a moment. Presentations, we're going to have things that you're going to present, things I'm going to present, lots of practice, lots of A+ practice materials as well. Now, with that said, I can tell you that our administration, I don't know how many of you have been following some of the board meetings with the BOE, but our administration is actively seeking to be part of the small group coming back into the school. And so we are hopeful that that's going to take place. So what that's going to mean is we're still going to have our online component, but they're working out some schedules to where at least one day every other week, you'd be able to come in for a two-hour block in the afternoons, and we'll be right back up to doing those hands-on activities here in the classroom. So hopefully that will go smooth and will happen in the near future. So just kind of wait to hear. As soon as I know, I'll let you know. Now, if we do that small group, or if later in the year we are full back to face-to-face, there are some things you're going to need. Now, in full virtual, you don't need these, but once we're in the classroom, these are some of the things that you're going to need. Some of those are some tools. Now, you don't have to go out and buy one, but if you want to buy one, there's a picture of a small toolkit there at the bottom. And I found this on Newegg for $20. But if you just have some of your own screwdrivers, a straight, a Phillips, and a nut driver, you're good to go. You know, you don't have to go out and spend a lot of money. You will need a flash drive. We're going to use that for some of the labs that we do in here with our computers. You're also going to use that to move some of those study materials back home with you, and maybe some other digital tools that we'll be able to let you have. We do uniforms here at CTC in every program. Ours, you can see a picture of the bottom right-hand side. It's a maroon shirt. We do suggest that you have two of them. That way, one can be laundered while you're wearing the other. We have some drawers here. Students sometimes will like to store them here, and that's certainly okay. Some students will wear them all day, and we think that's even better, but that is 100% up to you. They are $32 a piece, and there will be order forms if and when we're back to face-to-face. That is strictly through a side company not affiliated with the school system called Evergreen Graphics. So you would make your purchase through them, and they would send it. Most likely, they would deliver it to us to give to you. And then last but not least, certification exams. We certainly, again, expect everybody to take those. But until we get to roughly the middle of December, I don't know what that cost exactly is going to be. And that puts us at the end of my presentation. Do any of you have any questions for me? And you can unmute yourself and ask.
Can you review the college credits again, please? The ones in the beginning you said only transfer to FCC.
Articulation. They are 3 credits for each class, and technically I teach 3 classes that FCC has, 2 that are the A+, and 1 that is the beginning of Cisco, but they are articulated. So when you leave here, you take your transcript over to FCC. You say, I want to sign up for the computer program, and I have these articulated credits. What they basically do will waive those classes that you've already taken with me. And so you get credit for already doing those. They don't cost you anything, but they are applied toward the degree you're working towards.
But if you don't go to FCC, then
The articulation is not good anywhere except FCC. In that case, you really want to do the dual enrollment if you qualify. Now, one thing with dual enrollment, and I don't want anybody to think that the cutoff is October. Dual enrollment, you can jump into anytime you meet the qualification. So for instance, if you don't have your English 10 until the second half of the year, or maybe you don't take the English 10 test until, let's say, December, so you weren't ready in October, you can jump in January in the next class. The 3 classes in this first year are 7-week classes. So we have October the 19th through the middle of December. We have the end of January through the beginning of March, and then the end of March through the middle of May. So anytime before those classes start, you can jump in. And if you don't qualify this year, but you're coming back next year to finish Cisco or security, you can jump in then as well. So anytime along your path with us, once you qualify, you can jump into dual enrollment.
A quick question on the exams. If you fail the exams, do you have options to get the vouchers again?
The voucher price, yes. The grant price, no. So let's say, like for this year, it was $50, and that got you 2 exams. If you failed the first one, and so you needed that second one to retake the first, and now you have to buy your first shot at the second exam, that would be the $111 or the half price that I can get the voucher for.
Will this PowerPoint be posted anywhere?
Yes, this PowerPoint, as well as the syllabus, I'm glad you asked that. In Schoology, at least by the end of the day tomorrow, hopefully sooner than that, but in your Schoology class, there is a folder, and it says syllabus and more. There's some contact information in there as far as telephone numbers and emails for people here in the building. This PowerPoint will be there. My syllabus will be there, and probably some other documents as we get through this first couple of weeks will also go there. And probably a copy of this video. Anyone else?
Yes, the shirt order form, is that something you will email out to us or pick
It'll
up?
either be emailed or sent home with the student once we start that small groups or whenever they decide to go back to some sort of face-to-face.
Okay.
I haven't even been given a copy of it yet.
A real quick question on dual enrollment while you have it up. So
Sure.
how many, if you dual enroll, how many classes do you take for that dual enrollment?
Well, we have a total of 7 possible classes. So it depends on where you jump on board as to whether you only have 1 or anywhere up to 7 classes for your entire career with us.
Okay, so that equals the 21 credits as it did if it was going to articulate.
Right. It's
Got
still 21 credits, but being dual enrolled gives you those transcripted credits.
So if you're coming into this program as a junior, you don't have time to get all 7 in, correct?
It depends. I didn't really go into too much detail in the second year, but it depends on how much flexibility your senior year has in it. I'll give you an example. I have some students that I had last year that this year, they are here the entire day, morning and afternoon, so that they can get all that. But that means they had to either take an online English and math or do something through FCC's 101, something to where they had all their credits met that they needed for graduation. Not everybody falls into that little box. So everybody's unique and different. Anybody else? Going once?
Just real quick, so
Sure.
10th graders can dual enroll?
Yes. I have many 10th graders dual enrolled. Now, most of those are going to be dual enrolled by taking the AccuPlacer. So again, in the middle to end of September, we're going to start that conversation. That's also something that you and your student need to talk about. You know, how well have they done in English in the past? They certainly can take that exam. There is no cost to it. And then if they score high enough, then they qualify and can do dual enrollment. If they do not score high enough, then you really have to look at how close did they get. Do you want to use that second shot up? Do you want to wait and try it later after they've had another year of English? So each student and parent really have to weigh that out themselves.
But it's any of, you can either AccuPlacer, SAT, ACT, or NCAP.
Yes.
So
Yes, any of the 4. And if you're an 11th grader, I think, try not to quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure FCC did some sort of a waiver because of COVID last year, that your English would count. I heard that at the end, but I haven't seen anything recently. But I'll try and have that answer for you by the time we start talking about it in depth. Anyone else? It's been a great time together. I certainly appreciate everybody coming out and, well, coming online and joining me and getting this information. We really think that students do better when the parents are on board and know exactly kind of what to expect and where things are going, you know. So if you say, you know, what are you doing in school? Have you started prepping for A+, and it's January, you should know, hey, back in December, they got some study material. And I'll be emailing parents as well to say, hey, I'm sending this home. Think about over winter break, you know, what they ought to be doing, and not just enjoying the time off. And but we really have a good program here. We've had a lot of success in the past years, and I'm hoping that this will be another great year. I thank you all. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will
Thank
see
you very
you
much.
so much.
Thank you very much.
early next week, either Monday or Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.